This is a brief presentation on how to create your grant presentations. Each of you will be creating a slideshow with audio, or you can do a video with audio that goes over specific points about your grants. You will be submitting these into your discussion board. In the discussion board area, I will submit a summary of your grant so that you will not have to do that. Before people watch the grant presentations, they can read the summary of what the purpose of the grant is and the grant's goals, and that way each of you will not have to do that. Your presentations must be audio and video, and they must be accessible across all formats. I highly recommend it's an MP4. If you record it, you use a product like Screencast-O-Matic. It's free to use if your presentation is under 12 minutes, which it will be. Or you can do a PowerPoint presentation with video attached, visual and audio. And if you're not sure how to add audio to slides in PowerPoint, then I recommend you Google it. It's very easy. I do not recommend you use Google Documents or Google Slides because those do not convert easily and not everyone will have access to them, and not everyone will be able to see them. If you submit something that people do not have access to, or I do not have access to, you will receive a 0 on the assignment. So MP4 is accessible to everyone. PowerPoint with audio is accessible to everyone. If you're not sure about a format, ask and I will let you know. So if you look, it says your presentation has to be 6 to 10 minutes total. If it goes over 10 minutes, no one is required to watch it. Everyone can just turn it off at 10 minutes and they'll grade you accordingly. If you go under or over, you will lose points. If you go over, people will not watch it. If you don't finish your presentation, for example, if you go to 12 minutes and we only watch 10, you will be graded on what the 10 minutes are that you showed us. I will present the risk factors, like I said, for all the grants. I'll summarize the grants, and then you will post your presentation in the correct discussion board. You will have a presentation with approximately 7 slides. If you want slightly more, that's fine, but you make sure it's 10 minutes or less and that you cover the items I'm telling you to cover. You should have no more than 20 words on a slide, and you should have keywords on the slides that help you remember what to say. The benefit of this being recorded is that you can use note cards and no one can tell, but do not put full sentences on your note cards because that tends to have you read, and no one wants to be read to during your presentation. So please do not read to us. No more than 20 words on a slide, and then you will give us the key points from those words. So in slide 1, you need to introduce your population and community and what risk factors you're addressing in your program. So there's 3 items addressed on slide 1. Who's your population? What is the community location? And what are the risk factors you're addressing? It's important at this point to briefly describe your population and the community you're setting so that everyone understands. If you say I'm doing African Americans in Chicago and you don't give us any explanation, people will not fully understand your population. Slide 2, based on the NIH standards, tell us why this is significant. Is the population significant? Is the community significant? Is the programming that you're going to do significant? What makes this significant so that we can score you on that aspect of NIH? Next, slide 3, you need to tell us who you represent. If you go back to online assignment 2, which was about the grant, it asks you who's allowed to apply for this grant. You need to represent one of those organizations that's identified in the grant. You need to explain why this organization is capable of making this program run or why it's relevant to this grant. In slide 4, you need to talk about why your program is innovative. What is new and exciting about your program? What is different? As you have been submitting ideas, I've been giving you feedback on this is a great idea, this is really exciting, this is creative. Those are all the kind of things that you might want to discuss in this slide. What about your program is innovative? The next slide, slide 5, what is your approach? Overall, what are your main strategies? Are you having seminars on the weekends at churches? Are you doing outreach in the community? Where are you going? Are you having some special traveling van? Are you, what's your approach? Are you doing peer education? Give us some key points about your program so people understand what your approach is for your program. Slide 6, explain the environment of where you're holding your events. And so slide 5 and 6 might be combined. You might still have 2 slides where you tell us your approach and where, and you do that over a couple slides. That's fine, but make sure it's clear that you're telling us the approach and the environment where it's happening. Why is that environment going to help you be successful? And the last slide, slide 7, is to tell us, it's the last chance to tell us why you should get the grant. Because in this presentation, what you're doing is you're competing with other people in your group to get the funding. So in slide 7, it's your last opportunity to explain to your peers why your program is better than anybody else's and why you should get the money. So let's look at the way this is scored. Let me see if I can make the font a little bit bigger. Nope, that did not work. Okay. So for questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the first 5 rows, people will get a score of 4, 3, 2, or 1. Outstanding, good, fair, poor, or if someone did not discuss that topic, they get a 0. Across the top of the slides, going across the top, whoops, excuse me, you put the name of the presenter. So no group has more than 5 people. The person's name goes at the top of each column. Then if Susie Q is number 1, then you give her a score of 43210 for the first 5 rows. Josh Brown gets a score of 4 through 0 on the first 5 rows. And that goes for everybody. You go right across and watch them. Finally, at the bottom, this last row where there is a highlight of yellow, this is where you're going to rank the grants or the programs. In the first 5 rows, you can repeat scores 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, but when you get to this last row, you can use each score 1 time. So you can use the score 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 each time once. If you duplicate it, I will take points off your score. I am forcing you to choose. Number 5 is the absolute best grant. This is who you think should get the money. 4 is the second best. 3 is the third best. 2 is the fourth best. And 1 is the grant that you think is least likely should be funded based on the presentation that you see. So that's how the scoring works. You'll put so if this is a teen pregnancy prevention grant, all 5 people or 4 people or 3 people go on one sheet here. And if you want to put comments, there's plenty of room for comments. What will happen is if there's comments, I'll share them with the peers without your name attached. And everyone will, the scores, whatever your average is of everybody. So if 10 people in the class score a grant, the average of those scores will be the peer score on the grant. And so that's how the scoring works. If you have any questions, make sure you come prepared to ask in class. And I think this is a really exciting time because you get to see everybody's grants. You will be scoring other people's grants, but typically not in your own group. The only time you score in your own group is if the class is very small. So make sure you follow the directions and you score the right grant groups. Typically, you do not score your own group, but you score all the other groups in the class.